Well, Donald Trump has shaken up the world and hopefully it reverberates here in Australia because he's ordered an attack on gender politics, recognising only two genders, male and female. Joining me now is Women Forum Australia's Head of Advocacy, Stephanie Bastiaan. Stephanie, thanks for joining me. This is about ending what has become an ideological crusade across the world, but do you think that Australia will follow suit and say that there are two genders?
Look, I certainly hope so. This is a historic executive order coming out of America. Not only does it tackle the heart of the issue that is gender ideology, it deals with the consequences. Women's sex-based rights will be restored, their sports will be protected, their access to sex-only spaces such as change rooms, bathrooms, prisons and domestic violence shelters. It tackles the issue of documentation, so sex self-ID. It requires biological reality on things like passports and visas. It also strips away funding from diversity and woke programs, and also the forced use of pronouns in the workplace. Both of these things have been instrumental by activists to normalise gender ideology in our society. So it's a fantastic bill. I really hope that this inspires some leadership on the issue in Australia. But it's a terrific win for Americans and perhaps more importantly, women and girls.
Absolutely. Finally, somebody has said it. Good on Donald Trump. Now, a prominent trans activist wants Canada to update its travel safety guidelines for the US following that executive order. Stephanie, I don't think that Trump would care, but what does this say about the fear and hysteria being peddled by the left when it comes to gender ideology?
Look, I think hysteria is the right word, but we've been lying. The government has been lying. Our institutions have been lying to these people for so long. These are people who are struggling with gender identity. They have an entitlement. So I think following this order, there will be some growing pains, but we need this clarity. And quite frankly, if foreigners visiting America need to update their records to do so, the US is doing the rest of the world a favour.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Now, a tribunal has ruled that a Victorian lesbian group cannot exclude transgender and bisexual women from its public events. In 2023, the Lesbian Action Group applied to the Australian Human Rights Commission to allow it to exclude transgender and bisexual women from public events, but the Commission has since ruled against it. Stephanie, so Australian lesbians aren't allowed to exclude men from public meetings. What does it say about the gender identity movement?
Look, I think it says a lot more about the Human Rights Commission. They're no longer fit for purpose. I mean, this is the third case they've intervened where they've ruled against women. There was a similar case in Tasmania to the one in Victoria. And of course, they were a friend of the court on behalf of Roxanne Tickle in the Sal Grover Tickle versus Giggle case. I think we need to have a look at these institutions and defund them. As I said before, they're no longer fit for purpose. It's extremely disappointing. Men who identify as lesbians, as transgender lesbians, are heterosexual men. People have the right to meet and they have the right to discriminate in a lawful way, and this would be a lawful way. And if we have a look at some of the other decisions that have been made, particularly in Victoria, there was a gay bar who was allowed to discriminate against heterosexual couples. Transgender people are able to hold trans-only events. It just seems when it comes to women's rights, they're being discarded once again. And we really need better clarity on this. I just hope that when the next election comes around, if there's a change of government, Brad Batten takes this issue on and starts to deal with it and to root out some of these issues.
Absolutely, but this is what we need, Stephanie, is strong government and strong leadership on this, and follow the lead of Donald Trump. We can't keep going on this pathway. Stephanie Bastiaan, nice to chat to you. Thanks very much for joining me on the show.